Continued compliments of the season to you, and welcome to the Sports on Prime. I'm Gary L. Smith. I'll be updating you on what's happening in that game between Man City and Newcastle, and also Liverpool have announced a new signing, one which they hope will staunch the flow of goals, and we'll do that in a bit. However, we start by bringing you this exclusive interview with former Asante Kotoko CEO and current president of the Ghana Rugby Football Union, Herbert Mensah. The administrator has been assessing the performance of the Ghana Olympic Committee and the Sports Ministry in 2017.
It's difficult, when people take over any organization. And I think Ben has taken it over at a difficult time. Ben is in a difficult position because he was part of an old administration. He fought and successfully removed Professor Dodu. And so it's difficult in terms of what he needs to achieve. Look, there are political realities as well, things that people don't want to talk about. But let's face it, for me, sports is for everybody. It's not about individuals. But there's no doubt that sports in the last 10 years in Ghana became more of an NDC structure. So if you look at the GOC, the power players, they're all highly political and have put themselves in one position. And I think the challenge for Ben, as he rolls out what is good for Ghana sports, knowing there is no money, knowing that the exchequer is under great stress, is how he changes the optics and perceptions of that organization. And then also finds a better way of working, not symbolically, because, look, if you work with a minister, most of the time what are you doing? They're walking around, opening things, shaking hands. And that's not what you want. You're actually looking for far more in-depth cooperation that will generate money. Not about sports bills, not about those things that they talk about, but people who can actually understand that what it takes to develop sports across the board, from education to sports, the corporate world, and in terms of governance and getting involved, how you get a different culture of giving back into sports as you have in other countries, and making sure that the investment goes into the right place with the right transparency. I can't speak for Ben, but I'm just talking myself as to what really would be required to take it upwards and onwards and to another level. What I would say is that the funding within the Ghana Olympic Committee, we as members are getting far greater visibility than what we got before. So that in itself is positive. And I think it's a challenge for Ben. We've got the Commonwealth Games coming next year. I don't expect great success in the Commonwealth Games because, look, the cycle of planning for any games for me is 6 years. So therefore you should now be planning beyond the next Olympics. If sports is a young man's game, there are people in schools who should be prepared, centers of excellence, people should understand that you're preparing those individuals for the task of Commonwealth, Olympics, World Student, etc., etc., etc. There's a continuous program that should be a 6 to 10 year cycle in terms of program. So if you've just taken over something, it's highly unlikely that you can just simply hit there now with success. You'll be looking at damage limitation, you'll be looking at how it is that you raise funding, you'll be looking at that sort of thing to get the squad there, manage it properly, and get yourself properly accredited and doing well.
So that's Herbert Mensah speaking there. Let's go to the Premier League. There's a game going on. However, Liverpool have made an acquisition, and it's one that the fans will be very happy about. And it speaks to the confidence that players seem to have in Jurgen Klopp, despite all the talk about the fact that they are leaking goals. Mane, Salah, all those players have come to Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk is the latest to join them. It's £75 million, making him the most expensive defender in the world now. So let's look at the story. Southampton centre-back will join Liverpool when the transfer window reopens on the 1st of January, and the Netherlands international had been expected to join the Reds last summer after he handed in a transfer request, but the move fell through when Liverpool apologized for making an alleged illegal approach for the 26-year-old. So he has been seen also taking photos with the Liverpool kit in front of his Christmas tree this afternoon. That move will be analyzed into great detail. One of his first matches will be against Everton, actually, in Merseyside derby, and then Liverpool play Manchester City when he comes in. Talk about being thrown into the deep end. But speaking of the Premier League, Harry Kane is in the same bracket as Leo Messi. Don't forget that Harry has just beaten the aforementioned Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo to the number of goals scored in this calendar year. And this quote I am saying is not from me, it's from Ray Wilkins, formerly of Chelsea.
You know, for Messi to score 54 playing for Barcelona in Spain in an inferior league, and then all of a sudden Harry is getting 56. Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal achievement that he's done. The one thing I would say before I start talking about Harry was the reincarnation of Dele Alli yesterday. He scored a goal. He was the final passer of 3 goals, and the passing was absolutely fantastic. So well done, Dele, you're back. And it's nice to see him back. But Harry Kane has been just a phenomenon. You know, you saw the confidence with the 3rd goal that he scored yesterday, Rob. The ball was played through to him. Because it was such a good pass, he sat everybody on their backside with a little feint and then just dinked it over the goalkeeper. It was very much like Kenny Dalglish against Bruges in the Champions League or European Cup of many years ago. Just a great finish. And I think Harry, he finishes off both feet, he scores with his head, he plays in every game, doesn't miss too many games. I think we can start putting him in that bracket, Rob. Yeah. But I think what also you see with Harry, he scores goals when he comes off to receive the ball, turns and gets shots in from out the goal. But he's also prepared to run beyond defenders as well. And defenders hate that. When forward players run beyond the ball, they absolutely detest it. And when you've got players like Ali and Eriksson just sliding things through to you, you're going to score. You're going to have opportunities. Whether you stick it in the back of the net is entirely up to you. But I think what Harry Kane has achieved over the last year has been absolutely phenomenal.
So Harry Kane, superintended, helped Spurs to win as he got a hat-trick in his final game of the year to be able to surpass the 2 guys who have been having the duopoly in the last 7 years. Speaking of which, Manchester City and Newcastle are at it. Man City are looking to go 15 points clear ahead of Man United, who were only able to draw against Burnley. How's it going so far? Let's look at it. Pep Guardiola started with a strong team as expected. Sergio Aguero getting another start after complaining 3 games ago that he wasn't getting game time. It's 0-0, however. There's no Christian Atsu in the starting lineup. Man City having all the action at the moment, creating chances but not scoring at the moment. But if their form has been anything to go by, it's just a question of when and not if. To finish up on this bulletin, though, we look at the continuation of our incredible year series. This time it's for South African tennis star Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson achieved many milestones in 2017. One of the biggest moments came at the US Open. The 31-year-old from South Africa beat JC Aragon and Ernest Gulbis in his first 2 matches that set up a 3rd-round tie with Borna Coric. The Croat upset 4th seed Alexander Zverev and was a real threat to Anderson's ambitions. In their 2 previous encounters in 2015, Anderson won in straight sets. And that trend continued in New York as the South African won comfortably that extended his stay at Flushing Meadows. The 28th seed was in the 4th round for the 2nd time in his career and needed to beat Italian Paolo Lorenzi for a place in the quarterfinals. In the only previous Grand Slam meeting at the 2013 Australian Open, Anderson needed 4 sets to advance, and he was in for another lengthy battle as the 35-year-old won the 3rd set of their clash. Anderson regrouped, having dropped his first set of the tournament, and took care of business in the 4th set as he moved into the last 8.
For the 2nd time in his career, 31-year-old Kevin Anderson of South Africa is into a major quarterfinal.
The Arthur Ashe Stadium, a Grand Slam quarterfinal against an American. Anderson was in for a massive test. When they met in the round of 16 at Wimbledon earlier this year, Sam Querrey prevailed in 5 sets. While Anderson won their Masters 1000 meeting in Canada after that for a 6th career win against the 30-year-old from San Francisco. It came as no surprise to see the first set go to a tiebreak. It was the 14th in matches between the 2 big servers. Anderson made the first move. The 2nd set also went the distance. This time Querrey held his nerve as he levelled matters at a set apiece. Anderson took set 3, while the 4th set also went to sudden death. The tiebreak went the way of Anderson, who was now in a Grand Slam semi-final. The third meeting between Kevin Anderson and Pablo Carrena Busta, a place in the final to the winner. Anderson had beaten his opponent from Spain in the round of 32 at the Masters 1000 series in Canada earlier this year.
So back to the Premier League, and I was saying that it was just a question of when and not if. The goal is in. Manchester City have scored on 30 minutes and they still have possession. Now, the thing about the way they are playing is how relentlessly they are getting onto Newcastle when Newcastle have the ball. It's incredible. I'll be back at 10:30 to show you full highlights of the goals on the football show, and we discuss it as well, plus everything else in the Premier League. I'm Gary Alsmith, and for now, that's the sport.